Episode 1. The Princess of Prayers. The moon floated above the golden roofs of the Yang Dynasty, its light spilling like silk over the palace gardens. For years, the kingdom had prayed for an heir, lighting lanterns on rivers, offering incense to the heavens, and whispering their hopes into the wind. At last, on this sacred night, their prayers were answered. Inside the Jade Pavilion, Queen Mei Lin's cry of pain turned into a cry of life. A baby's soft wail filled the chamber. King Xian Hui, young and noble, took the tiny child into his arms. Her eyes gleamed like molten amber, calm yet fierce, as if she already understood the weight of the world. The royal priest bowed deeply and whispered, "This child carries the fire of the dragon, a heart of courage and a will that shall never break. She is heaven's answer to our kingdom's prayer." The queen wept tears of joy. "She shall be named Princess Xian Hui, the one whose heart knows no fear." From mountains to valleys, the bells rang. The people danced beneath lanterns, rejoicing, "The heir is born." But in the temple high above the clouds, the ancient oracle of Yang lit a candle and murmured a warning carried by the wind. When darkness rises and dragons awaken, her courage will decide the fate of the Yang throne. As the baby princess slept peacefully, a faint shimmer glowed upon her tiny palm, a birthmark shaped like a dragon's flame. None knew that this child, born of prayer and blessed with fire, would one day become the bravest ruler the dynasty had ever known. And so began the legend of the heart of the dragon princess, born not only to reign, but to fight destiny itself. Soon the grand doors opened, and the Empress Dowager, the king's mother, entered. She was a vision of timeless grace, her silver hair pinned with a golden phoenix, her eyes deep with wisdom and love. The courtiers bowed low as she approached the cradle. For a moment, the hall fell silent. "So small," she whispered, "and yet I can feel the strength of her spirit. She carries the fire of our ancestors." The Empress Dowager placed a golden amulet around the baby's neck, a dragon carved from jade. Thunder rumbled gently across the skies, as if the heavens themselves approved. Across the Yang Dynasty, drums thundered and fireworks bloomed like peonies in the night sky. Villages lit 1,000 golden lamps, letting them drift along the river, each one carrying a wish for the princess's long life. In the royal palace, silk banners fluttered in the breeze, and servants hurried through marble corridors carrying trays of jeweled sweets and fragrant tea. Drums thundered and fireworks bloomed like peonies in the night sky. Episode 2. The Stolen Heir. The dawn after celebration came soft and golden. The Yang Palace still glimmered with the remnants of last night's joy, lanterns swaying gently in the morning breeze, music fading in the distance. Queen Mei Lin cradled her daughter, humming a lullaby beneath the cherry blossoms. The air was warm, peaceful, yet beyond the palace walls, shadows had begun to move. Far across the mist-covered mountains, an old enemy of the Yang bloodline stirred Lord Xian, the exiled warlord who once waged war against the dynasty. His heart, darkened by years of vengeance, had never forgotten his defeat by King Xian Hui. From the ashes of his fallen army, he rose again, scarred, bitter, and hungry for power. His spies whispered, "The Yangs now have an heir, a girl born under heaven's blessing." Shen's eyes gleamed like cold steel. "Then heaven shall watch me take what it blessed them with." That night, as rain whispered against the jade rooftops, a storm crept into the palace. The guards, weary from days of celebration, didn't notice the silent figures slipping through the shadows. Lightning flashed, and for an instant, a hooded woman stood by the princess's cradle. She was Lady Rui, once a royal maid, now loyal to Lord Shen. Her face was torn between regret and duty. The baby princess stirred, her tiny hand clutching the golden dragon amulet, glowing faintly. The soft light startled Lady Rui, but she whispered, "Forgive me, little one. This is not my will, but fate." Lifted the princess, wrapped in silken blankets, and vanished into the storm. When the queen awoke, her heart froze. The cradle was empty. The palace erupted in chaos. Bells rang, soldiers stormed through corridors, and the king's voice echoed like thunder. Find her, search every corner of the kingdom. The Empress Dowager fell to her knees, clutching the dragon amulet that had been dropped near the window, cracked and dim. Tears streaked her wrinkled cheeks as she whispered, "The heavens would not take her, she still lives. Her heart is too strong to fade." Far away, through forests and rain, the stolen princess cried softly in the arms of her captor, her tears glowing faintly, forming a warm light that cut through the darkness. Even as a child, her heart of courage began to shine, a flame the shadows could never extinguish. So began the dark chapter of the stolen heir. The night the Yang Dynasty lost its light, but fate began to shape a warrior. Episode 3: The Queen's Resolve. The palace of Yang, once filled with laughter and songs, had fallen into a sorrowful silence. Days had turned to weeks since the princess was stolen. Every night, the queen stood at the window of the jade pavilion, watching the lanterns float down the river. One for each prayer she whispered into the dark. But Queen Mei Lin was no fragile soul. She was born with grace and raised with wisdom. On the 13th morning, she rose from her grief and stood tall before the royal council. Her eyes, once soft with sorrow, now blazed with purpose. "No man could enter the inner courtyard where my daughter slept," she declared. "Only the royal maids walked those halls. The serpent hides among flowers, and I intend to find which one it was." Voice echoed through the palace. From that moment, the queen herself took charge of the investigation. Servants were questioned one by one. Every maid's loyalty was tested. The scent of fear lingered in the air like fatting incense. Through fragments of whispers and broken truths, Queen Mei Lin's sharp mind pieced the clues together: strands of torn silk, unfamiliar footprints, a missing hairpin. And then it struck her. Lady Rui, the maid who once attended her chamber, vanished the same night as the princess. A storm raged in the queen's heart. "Find her," she commanded, "and bring her before the throne alive." Episode 3 continue. Far from the palace, beyond the mountains and rivers, in a peaceful little village surrounded by emerald forests, the stolen princess lived a quiet life under another name, Mei Lin. A humble farmer and his gentle wife had found her wrapped in silk beneath a weeping willow. With no child of their own, they raised her as a gift from the heavens. Years passed, and the once royal infant grew into a radiant young girl, strong, curious, and kind-hearted. Rose at dawn to help her adoptive parents, collecting herbs, tending to the fields, and cooking warm meals for the village elders. Old women often smiled and said, "This girl has the heart of a guardian. Even the wind follows her lead." Though her hands were small, Mei Lin's spirit was fierce. When travelers passed through with bows and swords, she watched closely, memorizing every move. With time, she learned to shoot arrows straight into the heart of a tree trunk and to swing a wooden sword with precision. Her father built her a small training post near the forest edge, and every evening, she practiced beneath the rustling bamboo, her laughter blending with the whispers of the wind. Often spent hours deep in the jungle, climbing trees, crossing streams, and helping lost children find their way home. When wild animals appeared, she never ran. Instead, she stood still, calm, her pure heart taming even the fiercest of creatures. Villagers began to call her the brave blossom, the girl who never feared the dark. Though she did not know it, the courage within her was not learned. It was born in her blood. The same courage that once protected the Yang Dynasty was now blooming quietly in the forest. And under the same moon that once witnessed her birth, destiny watched patiently, waiting for the day the lost princess would reclaim her true name. Episode 4: The Shadow of Betrayal. Many years had passed since the night the royal heir was stolen. The once young Queen Mei Lin now carried quiet wisdom in her eyes, the kind only sorrow can teach. Her heart had healed just enough to keep ruling, yet her soul still ached for the daughter she never found. But time, as it often does, began to uncover what darkness once tried to hide. Strange illnesses had begun to spread among the palace's young heirs, the sons and daughters of the royal concubines. Their health weakened by unseen hands, their dreams disturbed by whispers of shadows. Physicians failed to cure them, and priests spoke of black magic polluting the royal air. One evening, as storm clouds gathered over the palace, Queen Mei Lin stood before the altar of the ancestors. The flames of incense trembled, and her mind returned to one name, Lady Rui. "The night my child vanished," she murmured, "so did she. Fate does not hide forever." The queen reopened her secret investigation, quietly, carefully, with the patience of a hunter waiting in silence. Spies moved through the palace, gathering whispers, collecting fragments of truth. And at last, a trembling maid, pale with guilt, broke under the queen's gaze. Falling to her knees, she cried, "Your Majesty, I was there. Lady Rui used dark spells from the Forbidden Mountains. She cursed the royal bloodline. She said only she deserved to be queen and that her child should be the heir." The hall fell silent. The Empress Dowager gripped her chair, her old eyes blazing with fury. King Xian Hui's fists clenched, his voice cold as steel. "Tell us everything." Tears streamed down the maid's face. "It was Lord Shen, your old enemy. He returned from exile and conspired with her. He promised Lady Rui power, promised she would be the mother of the next ruler if she helped him destroy the royal line. Together, they stole the princess." Gasps echoed through the throne hall. Guards surrounded the trembling servants as the truth finally emerged like a ghost from the past. Queen Mei Lin's voice was calm, yet her eyes glowed with unyielding fire. "So the serpent hid not in shadows, but beneath my own roof." The captured maids revealed how Lady Rui practiced forbidden sorcery, draining the health of royal children to keep herself young, using spells that bound their life force to her ambition. But when the queen demanded to know where her daughter was, silence fell once more. The maid whispered in terror, "No one knows, your Majesty. Lord Shen vanished with the princess, like air swallowed by the night. Even Lady Rui has lost his trail." A deep stillness filled the palace. Thunder rolled across the mountains. Queen Mei Lin turned to the Empress Dowager and the king, her voice steady yet filled with sorrow. "Then I will not rest until I find her. Even if it takes my final breath, I will see my daughter return to her throne." The Empress Dowager nodded slowly, her voice trembling with pride. "Your courage keeps the dynasty alive, my child." As the candles flickered in the throne hall, the storm outside raged. The royal drums echoed through the palace. Guards marched into the grand hall as King Xian Hui and Queen Mei Lin stood side by side, their eyes sharp as blades. "King Xian Hui, bring her in." Lady Rui was dragged before them, her silk robes torn, wrists bound tightly in rope. Her once proud face trembled under the cold glare of the queen. "Queen Mei Lin, you deceived the crown, cursed the children, and stole my daughter. Speak, or face the god's wrath." Lady Rui's voice cracked as she fell to her knees. I did it for power. Lord Shen promised me the throne. I used black magic to weaken the royal heirs. I buried the cursed doll beneath the old plum tree in the east courtyard." The queen's eyes burned with silent fury. Guards searched the courtyard. Moments later, soldiers returned, holding a filthy, twisted doll wrapped in black thread, symbols of forbidden sorcery carved into its cloth. The hall filled with gasps. The king raised his hand. "Lady Rui, for your sins against the royal blood, you will face the punishment of the heavens." Lady Rui tightly roped as she was dragged away, her cries echoing through the marble halls, a chilling reminder that betrayal never remains buried forever. Episode 5, The Amulet of Destiny. Morning mist blanketed the Emerald Mountains as Mei Lin walked barefoot through the forest paths, her woven basket swinging lightly in her hand. She had come to collect rare healing herbs, something she did every dawn for the elders of her village. But today, the forest whispered differently. The wind carried a faint groan of pain. Following the sound, Mei Lin pushed aside the tall bamboo and found a wounded man lying near the stream, his face hidden behind an iron mask, his armor marked with the crest of the Yang Dynasty. Startled yet brave, she knelt beside him. "You're hurt, don't move." The man tried to reach for his sword, suspicion flashing in his eyes. "Who are you? Did you do this to me?" Mei Lin shook her head quickly, her calm voice steady. "No, you're bleeding badly. Please let me help." With strength beyond her slender frame, she carried him on her back through the forest trail. At her small cottage, she cleaned his wounds, crushed herbs, and wrapped bandages with gentle care. The warrior's harsh breath softened as he watched her. The kindness in her eyes felt strangely familiar. Then his gaze caught something glimmering around her neck, a golden amulet, engraved with a dragon and phoenix intertwined. Eyes widened. That amulet, where did you get it?" Mei Lin touched it softly. "I've had it since I was a baby. My parents said they found me in a field, wrapped in silk with this around my neck. I never knew where it came from." The warrior's heart raced. That amulet, it belonged only to the royal bloodline. Voice trembled as realization struck. The lost princess of Yang was alive. He stood, staggering despite his wounds, eyes filled with disbelief and awe. Without another word, he vanished into the misty woods, determined to return to the capital and reveal the truth to the king and queen. Mei Lin stood at her doorway, clutching her amulet as the wind rustled the trees. Why did he look at me that way? Far away, fate had finally begun to stir. Episode 6, The Queen's Tears. Under the golden rays of dawn, the royal palace of the Yang Dynasty stood silent, as if holding its breath. The wounded warrior, still weak from his injuries, entered the palace gates under secret command. He was led through guarded corridors to the queen's private chamber. When the guard announced his arrival, she turned slowly, her gaze sharp yet weary. "Queen Mei Lin, you carry the mark of my kingdom. Speak, what news do you bring from the outside world?" The warrior knelt deeply, his voice trembling. "Your Majesty, I have seen her." The queen froze, her fingers tightening around the fabric. "Seen who?" "The lost princess. She lives." Gasps filled the chamber. The warrior continued, his words rushing with emotion. "I was wounded in the mountains and rescued by a girl, brave and gentle. Around her neck hung the golden dragon amulet, the royal heir's birthmark. She said she was found as a baby, wrapped in silk. There is no doubt, my queen, she is your daughter." The queen rose slowly, her eyes glistening with tears. Her trembling hand covered her mouth as her heart ached with hope and pain. "After all these years, my child still breathes." The king entered at that moment, hearing the final words. His usually composed face broke into shock and fierce determination. "King Xian Hui, summon the royal guards. Send them to the mountain region, search every village, every home. Bring her back unharmed." As the queen's tears fell upon the silk cloth in her hands, the wind outside began to rise, carrying the faint echo of destiny. Far away, Mei Lin looked toward the horizon, feeling her heart beat faster, unaware that her life was about to change forever. The lost heir of the Yang Dynasty was finally being called home. Episode 7, The Awakening of Courage. The golden light of dusk painted the mountains as Mei Lin walked home from the forest, her basket filled with herbs. The air was still, too still. In the distance, the royal guards of the Yang Dynasty, led by Commander Han, were approaching her village. Their mission was secret and sacred, to find the long-lost princess of the realm. Mei Lin stopped near the stream, hearing the sound of hooves and clinking armor. Moments later, the guards appeared through the mist. Commander Han stepped forward, removing his helmet. "Commander Han, Lady Mei Lin, I've finally found you." "Mei Lin, found me? I think you must be mistaken." Before he could explain, a piercing whistle split the air. From the trees, arrows rained down an ambush. Lord Shen's assassins had arrived first. The royal guards raised their shields, clashing with the black-clad attackers. Swords gleamed, metal rang through the valley. Commander Han shouted, "Protect her, don't let them near the princess." Mei Lin's eyes widened, princess, but instinct took over. She grabbed a fallen guard's bow, drawing arrows with precision. Her years of forest practice came alive. She struck every shadow that moved. When an assassin lunged at her, she unsheathed a sword, her movements sharp, confident, fearless. The royal soldiers turned in disbelief, watching her fight with the strength and grace of someone born to lead. After a fierce battle, the assassins retreated into the forest mist. The guards surrounded Mei Lin, panting and bloodied, their eyes filled with respect. Commander Han bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, the way you fight, the royal blood speaks through you." Mei Lin lowered her sword, still trembling from adrenaline. "I don't understand any of this. Who am I really?" Han looked at her softly. "You are not just Mei Lin of the village. You are the princess of Yang Dynasty, the one we've been searching for." The wind carried the scent of rain as Mei Lin stood in silence, torn between disbelief and destiny. Far away in the palace, Queen Mei Lin paused by the window. Her heart stirred suddenly, as if her daughter's spirit had whispered across the mountains. "My child, you're closer than ever." Episode 8, The Return of the Lost Heir. The royal carriage entered the grand gates of the Yang Dynasty palace. Drums thundered, and flower petals showered from balconies. Every corner of the kingdom celebrated. The long-lost princess had returned home. Queen, unable to contain her tears, rushed forward and embraced Mei Lin tightly. The king's eyes shimmered with both disbelief and joy. The palace maids knelt, whispering, "The heavens have answered our prayers." Golden lanterns hung from the ancient trees, musicians played melodies of reunion, and nobles arrived from distant lands bearing precious gifts, jade bracelets, embroidered robes, rare pearls. The palace that once grieved in silence now echoed with laughter, life, and warmth. Later that evening, the queen gently led her to the ancestral hall. Before the portraits of their forefathers, she said softly, "My child, you are not Mei Lin. Your true name is Princess Xian Hui, the rightful heir of the Yang Dynasty." Mei Lin's heart trembled. Memories of her village life, her foster parents, the mountains, the sword in her hand, all flashed before her eyes. Yet deep inside, she felt a calling, a bond that could never be denied. From that night, Princess Xian Hui began her new journey, learning the rules of the court, the language of diplomacy, and the etiquette of a queen-to-be. But her courage and wild spirit could never be tamed, for she was born with the heart of the dragon princess. To be continued. Episode 9, The Training of a True Heir. Morning sunlight bathed the golden towers of the Yang Palace as Princess Xian Hui began her new life. No longer the mountain girl Mei Lin, but the true heir of the Yang Dynasty. Her days began before dawn. She studied the laws of the kingdom, trained in swordsmanship and archery, and learned to lead with wisdom and grace. Her strength, humility, and courage soon won the admiration of every soldier in the palace. One morning, the sound of war drums echoed across the courtyard. News arrived that Lord Shen's army had attacked the border villages of the Yang Kingdom. The court was filled with tension as generals gathered to plan defense. King Yang rose from his throne, declaring that he himself would lead the army into battle. But before he could speak further, Princess Xian Hui stepped forward, her eyes steady, her voice firm. "Father, allow me to fight beside you. I have trained for this day not to sit behind walls, but to protect our people. The blood of Yang flows in me, and I shall defend this land with honor." The court fell silent. The queen's eyes filled with worry, but also pride. The king looked at her, seeing both his brave soldier and his beloved daughter. "Very well," he said solemnly. "You will ride with me. Let the world see the courage of the dragon princess." That evening, Xian Hui donned her silver armor, her sword gleaming beneath the lantern light. As she mounted her horse beside the royal army, the people bowed and cheered, "Long live the Princess of Yang." And thus began a new chapter in destiny, where a daughter's courage would soon decide the fate of a kingdom. To be continued. Episode 10, Battle of the Red Plains. The sun rose crimson over the Red Plains, where thousands of banners fluttered against the morning wind. The air trembled with the roar of drums, and the clash of steel. The Yang Dynasty army stood ready for war. At the front rode King Yang, his armor gleaming like gold fire, and beside him, Princess Xian Hui, dressed in silver armor, the royal crest shining upon her chest. Soldiers whispered in awe. "The Dragon Princess rides with us." Lord Shen's dark forces appeared across the battlefield, their flags blackened by hatred. He sneered from afar, certain victory was his. But his confidence shattered when he saw the young woman leading the Yang banners, her eyes fierce, her spirit unbroken. The battle began. Arrows filled the sky, swords met with thunderous clash. Xian Hui fought like the wind, swift, precise, fearless. Her sword carved through enemies, her courage lifting the hearts of every soldier around her. When the king was surrounded, Xian Hui galloped forward, breaking through the enemy line. "Protect His Majesty," she cried, striking down foes one after another. Her armor bore scars, her hands bled, yet she stood tall, her presence commanding like a goddess of war. By sunset, the Red Plains fell silent. The Yang Dynasty emerged victorious. Lord Shen's army retreated into the shadows, defeated and broken. As torches lit the battlefield, the king dismounted and placed his hand upon her shoulder. "Today," he said proudly, "you have proven not just your bloodline but your heart." The soldiers knelt before her, chanting in unison, "Long live Princess Xian Hui, the heart of the dragon." The drums of war faded into the night, but a new legend was born, one that would echo for generations. Episode 11, The Rise of the Dragon Heir, finale. The war had ended. The banners of the Yang Dynasty fluttered proudly across the kingdom once again. Peace returned to the lands that once echoed with battle cries. The royal palace shimmered under golden sunlight as the capital prepared for the grand coronation. People from every corner of the empire arrived, their hearts overflowing with joy. The lost princess had returned home, not just as a daughter, but as the savior of the dynasty. Princess Xian Hui stood before the great hall, her silver armor replaced with robes of royal crimson and gold. Jewels adorned her crown, yet her eyes shone brighter than all, filled with courage, wisdom, and grace. The king and queen looked upon her with tears of pride. "Our daughter," said the king, "you were born of prayer and raised by destiny. You have proven worthy of both crown and people." Nobles, ministers, and soldiers knelt in one accord as the royal attendant announced, "All hail Her Royal Highness, Princess Xian Hui, the heart of the dragon, heir of the Yang Dynasty." The queen placed the golden crown upon her head. The drums thundered, and petals rained from the sky. Bells rang from the palace towers, echoing through the valleys and villages far beyond. Gifts flowed from every province, silks, jade, scrolls, and treasures. But what touched her heart most were the blessings of her people, calling her name with love and reverence. As she looked out upon the crowd, she raised her sword high to the heavens and declared, "From this day forward, I vow to rule with justice, protect the innocent, and lead with a heart unshaken by fear." The crowd erupted in cheers. "Long live Princess Xian Hui, long live the heart of the dragon." And thus ended one chapter of destiny, and began the legend of the Dragon Princess, a ruler born not just of royal blood, but of courage, compassion, and eternal will.